In this video we will discuss about the feedback mechanism. Feedback mechanism. As in last video we discussed about the homeostasis. So what is actually the feedback mechanism? It is like to maintain the homeostasis, feedback mechanism is used. What was homeostasis? It was basically to maintenance of the internal environment, but this feedback mechanism is to maintain the homeostasis. So process of maintenance of check and balance of our body, that will be known as the feedback mechanism. So now I'll write here process to maintain of check and balance of our body. So that's the feedback mechanism. So now for changing or any change occurring in our body or in our internal environment, so our body has three organs that are involved, like any change occurring. So number one, that will be the receptor. Now what are receptors? As we all know, these are the sensory cells, right? So these are sensory cells. Now what is mean by sensory cells? Sensory cells basically detect the stimuli. Sensory cells detect the stimuli. Now what is stimuli? Stimuli is actually what? If any change is occurring in our internal body, so stimuli, it will detect, sensory cells will detect that stimuli. So that's the any internal change occurring in our body. So basically receptor, they will message, like they have sensory cells, they have detected stimuli. So for example, any person have a fever, right? Any person has a fever. So if he has a fever, so receptors, there are sensory cells, so that will detect the stimuli that person has a fever. So that receptor, that sensory cells will go to control center. They will go to control center. They'll convey message to control center. Which is a control center? That's the brain. There's only one control center in our body, in human body, that's the brain. So sensory cells will convey the message to the control center, that's the brain. So now what brain will do? Actually the brain here, receptor have conveyed the message to the control center. So control center is the second organ that is involved. So now control center will convey, like for example, as I said, a person has a fever, sensory cells detect that a person has a fever. Now they have conveyed that message to the control center that this person has a fever. So now control center in the, we can say, in as an answer they'll convey the message to the effectors as the answer, as a result they'll convey their message to the effectors to change that change that, we can say, any cause into the normal condition. Like as a person has a fever, now control center will convey message to the effectors that change this to the normal condition. So that will be the effectors. Now we have some kind of factors like glands, muscles, so they will change that towards the normal conditions. So these are the three organs that are involved in changing any change occurring in our internal environment. So these three organs are involved. Now we have two types of feedback mechanism. We have two types. Number one, negative feedback, and there's positive feedback. Now what is negative feedback? Actually negative feedback if something increases in this, in negative feedback, if something increases, other thing will decrease. Like it will be the inversely proportional. Like for example, if we take the example of the insulin, so if insulin is decreasing in our body, so in negative feedback it will increase. Like in the feedback, in the effectors, it will be the negative feedback. The effectors will not bring it to the normal condition, the effector will change its condition. Like if the insulin is decreasing, so they will increase it, if it's decreasing, they will increase it. They'll not change it into the normal condition, they'll increase it. And if something is decreasing, if temperature is rising, so they'll not change it to the normal condition. In negative feedback, they'll change it to the in the opposite condition. Like if it's rising, they'll change it into the decreasing condition. So that will be the negative feedback. Now if we talk about the positive feedback, we can say it's a positive feedback. Like you can say the positive feedback, that's like, as a name it's represent that what's a positive, like it gives positive feedback. If the affected has gotten, you can say, for example, we'll take same example of the fever. If the affected control center has given message of the decreasing of the temperature, so positive feedback, they'll decrease the temperature, they'll not increase. But the negative, they'll, you can say, they'll do against it, they'll do opposite of it. So that will be the negative feedback. So in next video we're gonna discuss about the water potential, solid potential, osmosis and diffusion as well. So that's all for today.